Chapter 5. Positive versus negative energy. Energy is a measurement of work capabilities, performed, or potential, and it cannot be measured. Between the positive energy particles in the universe, the positive energy balances the negative energy stored in the gravitational attraction, making it zero. Spiritual energies are an esoteric type of phenomenon in which a lot of people are interested, and there is no scientific evidence of it. The entity of justice is universal, and the entities of animals and humans require special treatment. But entities, aka entitlements, won't ever exclude you from contamination. The bacteria in the animal or human body are cellular organisms that cause infectious diseases, etc., which form disorders and other health problems. It is unknown how energies of vibrations or heaven influence our field of energy, or why the connection to the etheric realms is so important to living our full potential. However, it is possible to learn how modifying our energy levels can help ourselves and others to live a productive lifestyle, and when you are ready, change will come. Negative and positive people. Compared to negativity, a positive person is naturally considered assertive, assured, confident in opinion, and emphatic. Compared to a positive person, a negative person is naturally considered unassertive, unassured, unconfident in opinion, and less emphatic. A positive person is unresistant towards consenting and proposals, while a negative person is resistant towards consenting and proposals. In religion, most principles require resistance to outer limits and non-resistance to God's commands. A positive person can be perceived as someone who makes excessive choices, while a negative person can be perceived as someone who makes less excessive choices. From a righteous standpoint, both the positive and negative attitudes would get you in trouble. While being excessive, the person would constantly go beyond the usual, necessary, or proper limits. Even though being less excessive, the person would go to the usual, necessary, or proper limits. You cannot make negative choices every time. You need accurate and true discernment to acknowledge the difference between significant choices. What is responsible may not be fair, genuine, or even righteous. And what is a responsible decision relational may not be spiritual. A person can insert 40 years worth of true discernment, then not insert anything in the last 30 years, which can be perceived as false discernment. For these reasons, positive and negative personality traits ought to be examined by comparing false and true discernment that is inserted over time. How do spirits feed off negative energy? Human spirits who demonize or dehumanize don't care who they hurt. They are self-conscious and envy when luring innocent victims and enforcing demands. They put themselves in the devil or enemy's reflections, marveling at the higher energy levels, the same way a fire becomes intense on an object when gas is added, and won't accept accurate and true discernment unless there is a payoff. The self-conscious mood means they are uneasy and unhappy because such things are fortunate for others. The marveling mood means they are happy and content, taking pleasure in others' distress, and they show signs of a person who lacks empathy. Dogmatism. It tends to lay down principles as incontrovertibly true, without consideration of evidence or the opinions of others. In the same way, religious people put forth opinions about the gospel without knowing about the mythical themes or being concerned about them. In the same way, non-religious people question the gospel, not knowing the truth or being concerned about their sins, in which they often put themselves above a person or group of people based upon the nature of their beliefs or religious doctrine, arrogantly asserting opinions while appearing dogmatic, often converting other supporters who influence negatively, forming doubt. Either person can be considered an ungrateful person. Although religious people are compassionate toward others' time of need, they are also well informed about educational ideas. They lack empathy when injustice occurs. Non-religious people are uncompassionate towards others' times of need and are less informed about educational ideas. They show empathy when injustice occurs, either of which makes it rather difficult for God to fully understand who is criminally wrong in these situations. There aren't enough sorrowful people in the world, or it would be a much better place. Passive-aggressive behavior. The medical definition of passive-aggressive is a display of and marked by behavior characterized by the expression of negative feelings, resentment, and aggression in an unassertive way, as through procrastination, stubbornness, and unwillingness to communicate, a passive-aggressive personality. The outdated definition that was rejected by the American Psychiatric Association is characterized by a habitual pattern of non-active resistance to expected work requirements, opposition, sullenness, stubbornness, and negative attitudes in response to requirements for normal performance levels expected by others. This definition seems a little brutal because you cannot let others define you. You need your direction to match your actions. It depends on whether or not the others are of authority, and it is wise to respect what people of authority have to say. In this world, there are three types of people. There's the type who avoids confrontation at any cost and would rather give their left kidney before handling a tough situation. There is also the type that thinks they are entitled to say whatever they feel, but mindlessly confronts people in the worst way. Then, there is the type that has passive-aggressive tendencies, and this includes some smart people. They indirectly get a point across, using the right amount of effort to let the other person know they mean business. We all have come across different types and can put them into one of the categories above. Is spotting a passive-aggressive person that easy? Yes/no. According to the Mayo Clinic, signs of passive-aggressive behavior are a pattern of indirect expression of negative feelings instead of openly expressed feelings. There's a disconnect between what a passive-aggressive person says and what he or she does. Example, a passive-aggressive person might appear to agree, perhaps even enthusiastically, with another person's request. However, rather than complying with the request, he or she might express anger or resentment by failing to follow through or missing deadlines. Pathological levels. 1. Brief or no cooperation. A person has been working a job for 3 months, and Monday comes, and they decide not to show up and then lose the job. A person applies for employment and gets the job, but they change their mind and then give an excuse for not even showing up. 2. Lack of ownership of representation. A person has 5 kids, and not all are by the same person. They don't pay bills on time and lose every job, but use alcohol and drugs in the pursuit of happiness. The person appears careless and sloppy in everything they do or say. 3. Lack of concern, empathy, and enthusiasm. Certain events take place in the family structure, and this person feels no empathy for any dreadful circumstance. The person isn't concerned and talks down about certain family members, etc. Family members visit the home, and the person lacks compassion and enthusiasm. 4. Revengeful, resentment towards a family member, friend, or coworker, which often leads to retaliation. 5. Lack of individuality or motivation. Once a person's individuality is rejected, it makes them devalue life and its expectations. Eventually, they aren't motivated to do or say anything that will get them ahead and may avoid engaging in life altogether. This commonly happens in very authoritative households. The result can be destruction, sabotage, and violence upon oneself and others. Passive-aggressive behavior can manifest consciously and subconsciously, active or imagined, as a dependency, directly resentful, a procrastinator, inflexible, obstinate, and continual unaccomplished objectives and tasks in which the person has accepted responsibility. All characteristic distinctions are formed as temporary camaraderie, friendship, or love. Although passive-aggressive behavior can be a feature of various mental health conditions, it isn't considered a distinct mental illness. However, passive-aggressive behavior can interfere with relationships and cause difficulties on the job. If you're struggling with passive-aggressive behavior, or you think a loved one is, consider consulting a therapist. Passive-aggressive with narcissistic behavior. A narcissist who has traits of passive-aggressiveness, actions are marked by patterns of unjustifiable criticism formed with a passive attitude that is commonly observable among associates, family, or friends. With an ego-driven narcissist, the place at any time, in any circumstance, can lead to psychological afflictions through forms of distortion or extortion with force and many twists, all of which can result in torture for oneself, leading to fatality, and even tragedy. Self-gratification behavior. It is the act of pleasing or satisfying oneself, especially the gratifying of one's desires, impulses, or wants. The opposite of gratification is delayed gratification, the act of resisting an impulse to take an available reward in the hope of obtaining a more valued reward in the future. The ability to delay gratification is the act of self-control or self-regulation. Children who can wait by 4 years old are more socially and academically successful as high school students and earn higher scholastic aptitude (SAT) scores, because it requires patience to learn educational stuff. As an adult, it is 5 times harder to be academically and socially inclined with others once you have delayed development. But changing self-gratification behavior can be crucial. Self-gratification psychology terms. Confirmation, concerning purposive behavior. The satisfaction of anticipation strengthens the behaviors that facilitate satisfaction. 2. Demand feeding, self-denial, the act of suppressing a desire and foregoing satisfaction. 3. Fulfillment, the term for the actual or felt satisfaction of needs and desires and the attainment of aspirations, such as wish fulfillment. 4. Oral center, a pattern of personal traits determined by drives originating in the oral stage of psychosexual development, and it is the center of focus. 5. Pleasure center, any of multiple different regions of the brain which, upon intracranial self-stimulation, have been involved in generating satisfaction. 6. Pleasure principle, it is the instinctive seeking of pleasure and avoiding of pain to satisfy biological and psychological needs. 7. Psychogenic need, concerned with emotional satisfaction in opposition to biological satisfaction. 8. Socialized drive, a drive that has been modified through social learning to achieve satisfaction. 9. Urethral eroticism, it is carnal satisfaction stemming from urination. 10. Vicarious enjoyment, the satisfaction one gets as an outcome of another person's gains or other positive encounters, frequently due to an identification with this other person. Is masturbation a form of self-righteousness? Yes, It is self-gratification of desires and notions that often lead to bold, corny, and irrational behavior. What are blasphemous thoughts? Using profanity, swear terms that include God, earth, or heaven. Dog aggression. When your dog has excessive behaviors, these are signs of serious problems. Aggression is one of the top reasons dog owners seek help from animal behaviorists or professional dog trainers. In a dog, aggressive behavior refers to any behavior connected with an attack or an impending attack. This includes becoming still and rigid, baring teeth, biting, growling, lunging, nipping, or snarling. There are steps to take that can curb the aggressive behavior and help the dog remain calm. Your first step is to figure out what is causing your dog's aggression. Some dogs growl as someone approaches them while they are eating or chewing on a bone, while others react aggressively toward children or strangers. The aggression doesn't have to be directed toward a person. Some dogs become aggressive around specific animals like cats, but not other dogs, or toward inanimate objects, such as wheels on vehicles or yard equipment. However, you cannot plan to modify your dog's behavior without finding the reason behind it. Common types of dog aggression. Fear. The dog is fearful and tries to retreat in a scary situation, and attacks when cornered. Frustration elicited. The dog behaves aggressively when it is restricted on a leash or in a fenced yard. It may act out when the dog becomes stimulated and cannot act on that stimulation. Defensive. The dog attacks in defense of something rather than trying to retreat first. Pain elicited. The dog shows aggression when it is injured or in pain. Possessive. The dog protects food, chews on bones, toys, or other objects of value to it. This is sometimes called resource guarding. Predatory. The dog behaves aggressively without much warning when exhibiting predatory behavior, such as chasing wildlife. When a child is playing chase with a dog, this instinct may become a danger. Protective. The dog protects members of its pack against another animal or a person. Mother dogs are also protective of their puppies and hostile toward anyone who goes near them. Redirected. The dog might become aggressive toward a person who attempts to break up a dog fight. When the dog can't reach the target of its hostility, such as a neighbor's dog, this may also happen. Sex-related. When vying for the attention of a mate, two male dogs or two female dogs become aggressive. This applies to intact animals and can be avoided by spaying and neutering dogs. Social. In social situations, the dog reacts aggressively to other dogs that haven't socialized properly with other dogs. People may also exhibit aggression. Dogs that suddenly develop aggressive behaviors might have an underlying medical condition. Health problems that are associated with aggression include hypothyroidism, painful injuries, and neurological problems such as brain tumors, encephalitis, and epilepsy. Medication or treatment may improve your dog's behavior. Avoid punishing your dog for aggressive behavior. It can backfire and escalate the aggression. Dogs are man's best friend. How well do you know them? 12 psychology facts about dogs. 1. Barking is a self-rewarding activity, which can be difficult to stop because they want a response. 2. Dogs respond to nonverbal and verbal cues just as 2-year-olds, but some dogs aren't able to understand basic sign language. 3. Dogs experience positive emotions just as a child, and familiar people trigger positive feelings in a dog's brain. 4. When walking by a male, dogs are more likely to bite or become aggressive, as the dogs pick up on a walker's aggression and emotions. 5. Male dogs prefer to play with female dogs, and female dogs don't discriminate between playmates. 6. Regularly walking your dog can help better their behavior and better your health. 7. Dogs who are regularly walked are more likely to be adopted from a shelter. 8. A dog's wag of the tail, whether left or right, has different meanings as a nonverbal communicator. 9. Curiosity can motivate the traditional canine bottom sniff greeting along their route with dogs they meet. 10. Dogs model behaviors of other dogs, and it is easier to train a new puppy with an already trained older dog in the house. 11. A dog can translate its owner's emotions and behaviors to the object a person is looking at. Your dog may interact with a toy that you have already interacted with. 12. A canine brain reacts to sounds of joy and pain in the same way as a human. Dogs can understand the differences in human vocal intonations and the meanings behind them. Etheric bodies. There are 5 cores of the body, such as astral, etheric, mental, causal, physical, and spiritual. According to physics and political science, both of which are core fields that connect us to the universe. Realms are the fields of something or someone in which anything occurs. For consciousness, the etheric realm is a core of healing, rejuvenation, and rest. An increase in freedom from the constraints of time and space. For those reasons, this discussion will mainly be about the etheric body or realm. Chakras are our etheric bodies, the link between earth and heaven. A chakra is any of the points of spiritual power located along the body, normally given as 6 in number, also known as Sanskrit for disc or wheel. Chakras are power centers in the form of revolving vortices of colors that are distributed throughout the body. The auric field or electromagnetic field is generated by the spinning of the chakras. As the chakra system spins, each chakra produces its electromagnetic field. This field then combines with fields generated by other chakras to produce the auric field. The spinning of the individual chakras creates energy, the frequency of which determines the color of a particular chakra. The amount or intensity of energy produced by a particular chakra or group of chakras determines the color that dominates the auric field. Vibration, color, and sound are all interrelated, and all three represent a means of determining or monitoring the frequency of energy in the auric field. There are 1 etheric, 4 secondary, 7 principals, 8 minor, and hundreds of lesser chakras throughout the body. The 7 principal chakras signify one of 7 energy centers located in the astral body. These energy centers correlate to major nerves branching forth from the spinal column. Also, these chakras correlate to levels of archetypal elements, body functions, colors, consciousness, development stages of life, and more. An individual's auric field is manifested via a combination of energies from 3 chakras. Generally, these are the first, third, and fifth chakras, empowering the physical, intellectual, and etheric bodies. It is a combination of these 3 chakras that produce the primary auric field, inner shell of the aura, which can be physically felt by the hand while passing over another person's body. If one is sensitive enough, the secondary auric field, outer shell, can also be felt. This secondary aura is produced from the interaction of all 7 chakras. A chakra can be cracked, damaged, or tilted out of alignment with the energy channel. Psychological stress or trauma is caused by feelings or events, positive or negative. A person's chakra and normal functioning energy flow have the potential to be disturbed. Both physical and psychological problems can result in the blockage of the energy flow. Example number 1, painful memories can become lodged in a chakra, blocking and distorting the flow of energy. Example number 2, too much excitement can disrupt the energy flow. When a chakra needs balanced or cleansed, it can produce a variety of colors, affected by unbalanced energy in your life. The heart chakra is green when cleansed and balanced, but just after a breakup of a relationship, the heart chakra will reveal darker colors. Nutritional balancing. Certain factors contribute to an imbalance of yin condition, fatigue, health, illness, lifestyle, a poor diet including chemicals, radiation toxicity, and toxic metals in the environment. As is known, an imbalance of nutrition can make any person more susceptible to becoming possessed by demonic spirits. Nutritional balancing can help to depossess, making it difficult for demonic spirits to coerce or control the body. Balancing the oxidation rate and the major mineral ratios clears infections, toxic metals, and other things that weaken the body. In the principle of yin and yang, all things such as female and male, dark and light, and old and young exist as contradictory and inseparable opposites. This is a fundamental concept in Chinese culture and philosophy that dates back to the 3rd century BCE or earlier. Both yin and yang also symbolize cold and hot, contracted and expanded, and are Chinese medical terms used to represent the physical qualities of the body. Enhancing the adaptive energy or vitality of the person's body can make it yang instead of yin. Nutritional balancing can be done with herbs, natural foods, and vitamins, all of which can increase mental functioning for full development at any age of life. The 7 principal chakras correlation to the 7 human rights. Each of the 7 principal chakras has a basic human right, and if a right is infringed upon or not expressed, it can be problematic for the chakra associated with the basic human right. Below are the 7 principal chakras, their source, and the 4 secondary chakras. 1. Crown, the right to know, the right to truth, accurate information, knowledge, and to simply know what's going on. This includes spiritual knowledge and the right to connect with and interpret the divine as one chooses. Source, fresh air, sunlight, and nature. 2. Heart, the right to love and be loved, freedom from projected or received prejudice, low self-esteem, and violent conflict. If any of the other rights are harmed, the right to love may be harmed as well, being the central chakra. Source, broccoli, chard, kale, and all leafy greens. 3. Root, the right to be here, simply to exist, take care of ourselves, and have possessions. Source, apples, beets, parsnips, pomegranates, and protein. 4. Sacral or spleen, the right to feel, to express and understand one's emotions, needs, and wants. Source, carrots, oranges, pumpkins, nuts, and seeds. 5. Solar plexus, the right to act, to be innovative and free. Oats, spelt, yellow lentils, yellow peppers, and yellow squash. 6. Third eye, the right to see transgressions, being told our perception is inaccurate, having things deliberately hidden from us, and having the scope of one's vision denied. Source, blackberries, purple grapes, purple potatoes, and plums. 7. Throat, the right to speak and hear the truth, transgressions, not being listened to, family secrets, and not being spoken to honestly. Sources, blueberries, figs, raspberries, and kelp. The 4 secondary chakras. 1. The hands, located at the center point between the thumb and index finger, or the center of your palm. The seats of creative energy are brought into action when you do or make something. Color, blues, greens, and oranges. 2. The feet, located at the center of the arch of the foot. They help maintain a connection with the earth and create the vital balance between cosmic and earth energies, which are pulled in through the 7th chakra, crown chakra. Color, earth brown. 3. The etheric chakra, located 3 inches above the head. The etheric chakra carries in the spiritual energy from the spiritual core of God and is called the soul chakra. Color, gold, silver, and/or ultraviolet. Source, creation and exchange of energy, karma, karmic memory, master plans, past knowledge, portals through the time and space continuum, and time and timelessness. 4. The 8 minor chakras. These chakras are located throughout the body: elbow, flexibility, genitalia, reproduction, knee, movement, shoulders, strength, and thigh, stability. The endocrine system is a gland that bridges matter and spirit, and the 7 discs of the etheric antenna are anchored in the glands. These biological receptors translate the higher frequency information picked up by the etheric discs, the chakras of yogic tradition, into language the nervous system can recognize. The audit fine frequencies bring both extrasensory impressions and sensory awareness. The fully activated human sensory system is more than an interdimensional communication device. Its miniature form-structured pattern of biogravitational field replicates the same pattern found in galactic, planetary, solar, and universal fields. When activated, it is capable of bringing through its miniaturized circuitry of awareness. The activated human sensory system is synonymous and occupies the same space as your spirit's presence. The human emotional realm interprets and senses motivational, life-bringing energies that radiate throughout the universe. Just as the ear does to sound and the eye does to light. When you release the mind beyond incarceration elements, life facilitates, the heart opens, filling with love. An etheric antenna raises, lighting the body with luminance, and then you become anxious. It provides you with an etheric organ to receive information that circulates in the universal realm of life. As long as you feel tranquil and continue to love those around you, it will remain open for a few months. But once your emotions are disturbed, the etheric antenna lowers, and eventually, your heart closes. The etheric antenna is disturbed by anger and hatred, which are violent emotions of one's own. Otherwise, your heart must return to the Spirit of God and resume the expression of love. Chakra balance. Imbalance, yoga balance. Detachment from ego or entanglements. Crown, I am at peace. Mind and body intuition. Third, I am calm. Hearing, self-expressive and speech. Throat, I express myself freely. Seat of the soul, empathy and love. Heart, I am loved. I am loving. Power, purpose and self-esteem. Solar plexus, I am organized. I can accomplish my dreams. Creativity, emotion, flexibility and stability. Sacral, I have ideas to create anew. Ground, secure and prosperous. Root, I am confident. I am full of energy, taking back control. In areas of your life, you may experience signs of disconnection, whether financially, mentally, physically, or verbally. You may be scared of taking risks or putting your happiness in others' hands. You may often feel dissatisfaction or failure with your direction or relationships. You may lose a family member and even decide to give up. During struggles, you may stop feeling sorry for yourself, or you may look back to see how far you have come. This is what it feels like to live the victim's lifestyle. When you are listening to the passive voices of demonic spirits, you don't acknowledge what others are saying in the physical world. Living the victimist lifestyle allows influences from the physical and spiritual realm to consume your life, preventing righteous guidance from entering. While it is up to us to change the cycles of abuse and vainness, it doesn't necessarily mean we are capable of doing so in the long run. The Bible recounts at least 6 occasions of Jesus casting out demons, although he may have cast out more. It says Jesus commanded unclean spirits, known today as demons, with a loud voice to come out, and they came out. Matthew 4:37, cast out means to dismiss, eject, or reject the demonic spirits. It can also mean reforming the mind to process the Gospel's history without the mythical themes. But it is virtually impossible with it still on the market and in many Bibles today. And it doesn't mean that God won't guide and lead you righteously. He will, as long as you remain innocent in your everyday life. Yet, avoid taking in more false beliefs and doctrines. Just believing in something doesn't form a victory and may render fake glory. Believing in something that is true forms a victory and renders real glory. You don't need to insert opinions as truths, speak out about evil spirits, or give up your religion. And you don't have to fear becoming disconnected while suffering, only fear becoming disconnected, suffering, and not believing in God. Know your rights and insist others respect those rights. Do some research, and then educate yourself so you have the information needed to make good decisions, take back control, and make strategic moves. The Bible also records a need to heal during the process, which includes other health issues. Many people eat natural foods, some take vitamins, and some use other methods or remedies. Determine your vitamin deficiencies and goals to obtain purification of the body. Change is a step-by-step process, and it won't happen overnight. Once you allow the change to manifest in your life, you can then live the lifestyle God intended. This allows you to put a foot down on bad influences to stand steadfast for God's sake. Plan strategies for making your life the way you want it to be. All to become a justifiable person who is wise. Failure and overcoming. To fail means not to have met an expected success. Ultimately, you must admit you have failed to move on. Also, you must acknowledge your successes by admitting when you succeed. People who don't celebrate victories or acknowledge failures until someone points it out, and then it becomes an overwhelming factor for most. Avoid not celebrating victories because it won't help to overcome trial tests. Example 1. Amber didn't meet an expected success, with a task that was to be completed at 4 p.m., and Rihanna pointed it out by saying, you have failed. Amber said, no, it was complete by 3:30 p.m. Amber then acknowledged it wasn't completed. Avoid this type of denial, it can lead to lying. Example 2. Giovanni acknowledged that he failed at a task. He admitted it to a nearby coworker. The coworker said, it is okay, everyone has failed at that task. It is no big problem. This is an honest way to fail. Many of us have overlooked accomplishments to not annoy an enemy. However, you ought not to let an enemy control your failures or victories. Ultimately, you change your perceptions of failure and how it can be dealt with in your life. You are in control of them, along with your successes. It is okay to fail. Taking ownership of failure helps to overcome it. Try not to take ownership of failure you didn't fail at. Be honest with yourself as well as others. In psychology, control refers to how a person regulates themselves or wishes to regulate their environment. There are identifiable types of control, such as cognitive, desire, ego, effortful, emotional, inhibitory, motivational, perceived, situational, and social. Psychological control types definition. Cognitive, this describes the ability to control one's actions and thoughts. It is also known as controlled executive, processing, or supervisory attention. Controlled behaviors are behaviors over which one has cognitive control and is guided by maintaining good behavior, representing task goals, updating bad behavior responses, and inhibiting information irrelevant to the task goal. Cognitive control is often developed through reinforcement and learning from previous experiences. Increased cognitive control allows a person to have increased flexibility in their ability to choose between conflicting stimuli. Cognitive control is commonly tested using the Stroop-Color-Word task and the Erickson-Flanker task. Desire, this applies to any circumstance, relationship, or subject that an individual may want to have some degree of control over. In sales, control desire is the amount of control a customer wants within the relationship. Control desire is often associated with perceived control, and studies that focused on people with lower control desire showed a correlation with greater psychological problems. Ego, this refers to the person's attempt to control appetites, emotions, impulses, or thoughts, attentional processes, and task performances. Failure of ego control is seen as a central problem in individuals who suffer from substance abuse disorders. Effortful, this refers to a type of self-regulation. Effortful control often interacts and is central in other forms of control, such as emotional and inhibitory control. It is a broader construct than inhibitory control and involves working attention and memory shifting. Effortful control works by allowing people the ability to start or stop behaviors through attention management. Effortful control is theorized to be involved in the process of problem-solving and behavior regulation due to the top-down processing involved. Emotional, it is a term from the literature on self-regulatory psychology and refers to the ability to self-manage, regulate attitudes, and feelings that directly affect participant receptiveness to an implementation of training activities. Emotional control is often referred to as emotional regulation and is the process the brain undergoes to control and regulate emotional responses throughout the day. Emotional control balances and manages the physiological as well as the response to an emotion. The opposite of emotion regulation is emotional dysregulation, which occurs when problems arise in the emotional control process that results in the inability to process emotions healthily. Emotional control contains several emotional regulation strategies, including cognitive reappraisal, distraction, and emotional action controls. Inhibitory, this refers to another type of self-regulation that is defined as the ability to inhibit prepotent actions or thoughts flexibly, often in favor of a subdominant action, typically in goal-directed behavior. There are two types of IC, hot and cold. Hot IC involves activities or tasks related to emotion regulation, and cold IC involves abstract activities or tasks. In three main areas of life, attentional, behavioral, and motor, a lack of inhibitory control can lead to difficulties. Inhibitory control is also involved in the process of helping people correct, improve, and react to social behavior. A lack of inhibitory control can be connected with several mental disorders, including attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, behavioral inhibition, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Alcohol and drugs also influence one's inhibitory control. Motivational. This refers to the self-regulatory mechanism by which people can act on prescribed behaviors to implement training activities. It can be explained by the analogy of a student who, before a test, studies an hour each morning for 2 months, whether or not the student likes studying. Perceived. Person's belief that they are capable of obtaining the desired outcome, avoiding an undesired outcome, and achieving goals. High perceived control is often associated with improved adjustments, health, and relationships. Strategies for restoring perceived control are called compensatory control strategies. One's perception of perceived control is influenced by the future, the past, and the desired outcome of an event. Perceived control is often associated with the term locus of control. Perceived control can be broken down into 2 different categories, including primary and secondary, which deal with one's perception of control over the environment or one's wishes to control within that environment. Situational. This is part of leadership psychology that refers to the degree to which the situation provides the leader with potential influence over the group's behavior. Social. This refers to a person's skills in a social environment, engaging in ways that help to reinforce and support his or her learning activities. Social control can be influenced by several factors, including society's control of people's actions and behaviors, and the control a person has over their behaviors in public. Over time, the definition of social control has changed to include groups of people in addition to individuals. Reaching full potential. Often, down and up moments of confusion make people who suffer from demon dwellings compare themselves to others who are on a higher level intellectually, especially young people who are not living out their full potential, but are experiencing physical realm or spiritual warfare attacks upon their character. This affects them daily intuitively, rationally, and socially through misguidance, and why they need to take back control intellectually. Short-term memory and potential. Consequently, this occurs in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is a process of the brain. It is a very common problem for many people today. Short-term memory works continually, storing small amounts of information for a short time, 30 seconds or less. It can sometimes play an important role in determining your full potential. It requires practice and rehearsal to remember short-term. And if you can't remember, you won't want to practice or rehearse after using up your primitive energy. This is one reason there are more religious elderly than young individuals. They rely heavily on traditions, which are routines with short-term memory loss. It is very common throughout religion to rely solely on practice and rehearsal. This is so that one doesn't get out of touch with reality completely after the primitive energy is used up. Religion itself can be classified as a highly recommended comfort zone for those suffering from short-term memory loss. Yet, having familiar faces around can help you remember things you needed to seek that were lost. This can include destiny, dreams, eternal comforts, an eternal mate, and goals, all of which can help determine full potential and break bad habits. Why aren't most people reaching their full potential? Many people resist their highest potential, avoiding extremities of future hardship or random notions that come with the responsibility of future life. We would rather stay busy fulfilling desires that we are addicted to and incapable of being satisfied or pleased with. All this is to avoid righteous engagement for fear of being overtaken by unconscious and uncommon impulses that may become irresistible. Fear is being oneself without fear of criticism, judgment, or rejection. We don't always feel we handle these circumstances and emotions properly, or we may not be capable of doing so. It can be difficult when most people spend their entire day criticizing or judging the things people do or say. They think they are geniuses at doing so, with much effort going into it. Once you have used your primitive energy up, you then need to be re-energized. You need the energy to sail through these emotions quicker, to not be caught up, persistently denying there is full potential to live out. Living life to its full potential. First, accept the person God has given you to be, to get what is possible of potential. Consider yourself a worthwhile human being through the grace of God. You can't want to live someone else's life. God needs your full focus to guide and make you complete. This can only be fully done from a righteous perspective. Once you obtain the amount of education and knowledge needed to reach the full capacity of life expectations, then you can reach the full potential God has for you. Desires and fulfillments. Desire is too long for a wish that possibly needs to be fulfilled by oneself or others. To fulfill is to carry out a promise or wish, which usually brings possibilities and satisfaction. If you don't have the same desires as a person you may be comparing your success with, this means you won't feel a need to carry out the same fulfillment they have to get to their accomplishments. Fulfillment brings their desires into reality. Also, if you haven't had those same desires, others won't fulfill those needs for you either. To reach full potential, you must desire to do so, otherwise, you won't carry out the fulfillment needed to reach full potential. If you need guidance reaching your full potential, surround yourself with people who have the same goals you do. This is to find out things needed or ways to carry out the fulfillment needed. These are reasons you cannot base your success upon what others have. It will only have you feeling delusional about your call, destiny, or direction in life. 12 ways to reach full potential. 01. Envision bigger accomplishments, plan strategic goals, keep them, and use available time wisely. 02. Stay in touch with your spiritual guidance, utilize righteous determination and imagination regularly. 03. Live outside your comfort zone, but spend wisely. 04. Embody a positive attitude by exercising patience and apologizing when needed. 05. Stay focused on the current task. 06. Don't complicate things worse than they already are, speak truths, and don't blame others. 07. Re-energize continually. 08. Enjoy each moment of making wise choices and staying true to commitments, also own your failures and successes. 09. Don't run from fear, be accountable for your actions. This includes both future and past fears. 10. Observe people's intentions and notions, but don't be impulsive or overwhelmed by them. 11. Work with people of authority, don't work against them. 12. Acknowledge criticism, judgment, and rejection as a trial test, but not as setbacks that can't be overcome. 13. Stop abandoning paths in life, work through obstacles, and overcome them consistently and diligently. Emotional intelligence. People with high emotional intelligence process information wisely in mental, job, and leadership areas. Long-term emotional intelligence enables control over empathy, motivation, self-awareness, and regulation, along with social skills. The goal is to use your ability to process emotional information accurately to navigate through social environments responsibly. Though most intelligent people are educated, acquiring the knowledge to navigate enables them to do it appropriately. Improving your emotional intelligence means being open and honest with other people's needs and taking responsibility for your actions. Listening to all details enables control over your emotions. Not criticizing, judging, or stereotyping people before getting the facts helps put yourself in their place. Acknowledging you aren't perfect after hurting someone's feelings and then apologizing shows respect. Effective usage of the brain. Since the beginning of time, cosmic radiation frequencies of 5 kilometers deep down underwater have been creating resonances or vibrations. Human vibrations affect the molecular structure, which absorbs radiation of all wavelengths from the cosmos. Water registers are sensitive to frequencies coming from a body of water. Water and trees bearing fruit have healing to keep humans alive for hundreds of years. The body is 70% composed of water, and all functions of the body depend on it. From your daily fluid intake, you need at least 85% of the water. The benefits of drinking water are creativity, concentration, focus, mental clarity, and rapid thinking. Lack of water can lead to anger, brain fatigue, depression, headaches, memory loss, sleep apnea, and even stress. Through urination, water helps remove the fat intake and free radicals from the body. For the elderly, it can help reduce the risk of Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's disease. The brain stores data in holographic forms, and every cell in the body carries data to produce a copy. Water stores data and restores data that was lost. Water has a large heat capacity that requires a lot of energy to increase its temperature, and the brain and the nervous system rely heavily on energy from it to function properly. For cognition, the brain is an important organ in the body to keep energized. Water helps the production of hormones and neurotransmitters, along with balancing your emotions and mood. The subconscious communicates with the universal law of vibration through programmed data transported based on your inner emotions. Conscious, aware of one's existence, sensations, thoughts, surroundings, etc. Subconscious, existing or operating in the mind beneath or beyond the consciousness. The totality of mental processes, in which the individual is unaware of unreportable mental activities. Functions of conscious and subconscious for left and right hemispheres of the brain. The corpus callosum is a thick band of nerve fibers that separates the cerebrum into left and right hemispheres. It connects the left and right sides of the brain, allowing communication between both hemispheres. This includes the transmission of cognitive, motor, and sensory data. The corpus callosum is made up of nerve fibers and is responsible for serving as a connector between the motor regions on the right side of the brain and those on the left side. For right-handed people, the conscious is the left brain hemisphere, and the subconscious is the right brain hemisphere. For left-handed people, the conscious is the right brain hemisphere, and the subconscious is the left brain hemisphere. Either side of the brain controls the other side of the body, and the two sides of the brain are forced to communicate when the legs and arms are crossed over. The left side of the brain. 1. Analysis. 2. Computational functions. 3. Deriving facts. 4. Language functions. 5. Linear functions. 6. Logical functions. 7. Mathematical and science functions. 8. Sequencing. 9. Verbal and grammatical functions. Right side of the brain. 1. Creativity functions. 2. Daydreaming functions. 3. Holistic thinking. 4. Imagination. 5. Interpersonal skills. 6. Intuition. 7. Motor skill functions. 8. Musical rhythm functions. 9. Nonverbal functions. Differences between the hemispheres. Conscious, decision-making, destiny in life, intellect, organization, planning, subconscious, beliefs, body functions, breathing, heart rate, and digestion, feeling and emotions, instinct, interrogation, memories, synthesizing. Music helps to stimulate the brain circuitry for early and full development after a near-death experience, communicating between the conscious and subconscious brain lobes, and exciting the brain with unestablished patterns. Brain intelligence. Brain intelligence is defined as the mental ability for learning, problem-solving, and reasoning. Intelligence is a tool that integrates the cognitive functions of the brain, such as attention, language, memory, perception, and planning. The relationship between brain and intelligence can be measured through a technique called brain volume, known as the Standard Progressive Metrics Test or SPM. Larger brain size and volume are associated with better cognitive functioning and higher intelligence, and vice versa. Creative and intuitive people are thought to be right-sided and logical, whereas those who are objective are termed as left-sided. How to tell if the spirit is negative or positive? The human spirit has a birthday, and each zodiac sign represents a negative or positive. Whether the person is alive or dead, the same concept applies. Veronica's decision-making process theories. The conscious and subconscious processes of the mind are human anatomy components of physiology. If you hear voices, normally, you have 3 voices for each preceding process, positives and negatives, sounding off inside your head. The conscious or subconscious hemispheres of the brain can be inadequate when combining the zodiac sign symbol overlapping the positives or negatives. If you have a positive zodiac sign, your total symbols are conscious, positive plus negative, subconscious, negative, and your zodiac sign, positive. This is an equal number of symbols. However, there is no continual leader, even though there is a balance. When making decisions, although it will be a balanced one, it will be difficult to stand firm on one decision, without there being multiple reasons why you made the decision. If you have a negative zodiac sign, your total symbols are conscious, positive plus negative, subconscious, negative, and zodiac sign, negative. This gives you 1 positive and 3 negatives. However, there is a leader, and it is negative, but there are too many negatives to have balanced thoughts. When making decisions, although it will be a negative one, and since the negative is the leader, most decisions will render dramatic results. Although dramatic isn't a bad word, it could mean detectable, extraordinary, important, phenomenal, notable, significant, or even sizable. Veronica's 6 senses usage theories. The 5 senses enable you to perceive physical existence, like hearing, smell, sight, taste, and touch. The 6th sense is an addition to the 5 fundamental senses. Described as intuition, it enables you to perceive non-physical limits like feelings, ideas, senses, and thoughts. Using perceptions beyond the 5 senses, generally, they aren't apparent to your daily conscious mind. The anterior cingulate cortex area of the brain raises an alarm of danger without penetrating the conscious mind, recognizing and addressing ideas, senses, and thoughts that may be negatively affecting you. Conscious, positive plus negative equals, determining, and subconscious, negative equals, no right or wrong thinking, only produces and transports conclusion. The 6th sense allows your subconscious to store data for your conscious mind to analyze the data in the fastest amount of time, and the conscious mind acknowledges data without stored information. It plays an important role in keeping your mental state balanced and calm. People experience higher levels of intuition when dozens of conscious insights align with subconscious memories and senses, converging and bringing forth a conclusive or cognitive explanation. When they don't align, the mind doesn't analyze as much, and you get fewer intuitions from the conscious area of the mind. Ideas, senses, and thoughts are what most people have issues expressing. Either they deny, ignore, or suppress them. Most people simply don't acknowledge them to avoid excessive or obsessive tendencies. Using the 6th sense. 1. Awareness of intellectual rational word choice. Listen with all senses to what's helpful and valuable, to be easily understood, or operate without explicit instructions. Take the time to pay attention and ask questions. Keep a journal for streams of conscious ideas, visualize, and speak your true intentions. Try not to criticize, judge, or stare at others. Observe, but don't let it annoy. 2. Awareness of expression. Create your expressions to explain how you feel, but do it gracefully. 3. Awareness of self-care and love. Take care of body and mind. A bath often gets rest, smell and taste foods, but never overeat. Also give hugs regularly. 4. Awareness of dreams. Don't deny, ignore, or suppress vibes of dreams. Tap into them. If necessary, write down your dreams and learn to interpret them. Acknowledge facts of feelings, hearing, ideas, sights, and thoughts during dreams. 5. Awareness of work. Work a job. If you don't work, work out with your body to renew the soul daily. Walk. Spend time in the natural outdoors to rekindle ancient thoughts of the mind necessary for survival. 6. Awareness of practicing. Talents consist of a wide range of uses for the 6 senses. It gives you wisdom and allows you to enjoy life to the fullest, and promote all six senses. 7. Awareness of mediation. Learn to quiet the mind and observe calmly. Take your mind off normal, frantic, and frenzies to tap into the body's inner calmness. The sixth sense gets perceived as magic preserved for angels when it is for normal usage. The sixth sense can also be used for psychic abilities. Most people who deny or suppress the sixth sense usually stem from being demonized and traumatized growing up. Others suffer from major health conditions, resulting in ignoring the sixth sense. Either way, over time, they forget the sixth sense exists. Aligning the conscious and subconscious. The conscious hemisphere processes rational logic by analyzing, changing, overriding, or reasoning through data stores. One's existence, sensations, surroundings, and willpower account for at least 10% of the total mind capabilities. Forming the mental state enables you to be consciously aware of the physical functions. You have conscious free will choices, and each person arranges their choices either effectively or ineffectively when choosing between free will and forbidden things. Free will choices can be made for righteousness or unrighteousness, while forbidden things are not allowed. The goal is to utilize your willpower to work for yourself and others effectively. Abilities enable you to work from a responsible advantage, rather than from an irresponsible advantage, against yourself and others. When a person has developed abilities, it means they possess skills or talents to get something done. This also means you are capable of making efforts of task performance, improving one's behavior in an environment, maintaining good behavior, and even better qualities. With those capabilities, you are still going to have a temptation that could lead to entanglement, and if you are unconsciously aware, it can form into the main agenda. In the context of making insignificant choices, an agenda can go wrong, and only in the context of making significant choices, the agenda comes out right. The conscious gravitates to acknowledged capabilities, not to unconscious discernment. You would likely have to remind yourself daily not to indulge in insignificant desires and notions, which is true discipline. For a person not thinking selfishly of sinning during the unconsciousness of data stores, the sin won't be irrational, and even though it is a sin, you remain blameless. The subconscious hemisphere processes irrational logic by collecting and storing new data while programming and storing old data. One's memory stores account for at least 90% of the total mind capabilities. This enables you to be subconsciously aware of the non-physical functions to form the spiritual state. You make subconscious free will demands to form the overall belief or experience, even though the subconscious won't know a right or wrong response until the conscious mind determines it. The result can be repeated actions, behaviors, relationship patterns, and thoughts due to the comfort zone of familiarity, all because the conscious acknowledges reality and the subconscious imaginary. Just remember to make wise decisions and stand firm on one decision, especially if you have a positive symbol for your zodiac sign. The subconscious thinks for the present, and if noticed, it will prompt you when full of data stores. But the subconscious sometimes can be at odds with the present needs of achievements, according to the current physical existence. Sometimes, you may drift into a reaction automatically, solely based upon subconscious instincts. Over time, the subconscious becomes overloaded with beliefs, concerns, and judgments about experiences of emotional responses. There are things of the past that are no longer beneficial to the present. This includes drama, habits, outdated data, or even trauma. Some things were forbidden or limited as a child. The subconscious stored those memories. If you have had a horrible upbringing, as a child or preteen trauma, diligently reprogram the subconscious to work from a responsible advantage. You no longer need to honor the forbidden things of the past as a child, only be grateful while growing as an adult. Precociously, you let go of those entangling memories that your parents brought upon you. The collection and programming of data stores started at an early age, when you were open to learning. Question the subconscious: what else is possible, yet I haven't considered that physically exists and will help align the conscious and subconscious? One aspect is to free the conscious mind for the subconscious to work to your advantage. The subconscious works best when the conscious mind is in relaxed mode, and you don't need to force a decision. Give the subconscious time to collect the information after the conscious mind has analyzed it before rendering an answer, so that one is clear about a decision. If you spend too much time working with the subconscious won't get any rest. Don't do more work with the conscious mind than is necessary, or you will waste energy. When freeing the conscious for the subconscious to work, you allow God and the universe to work through and on your behalf. Hypnosis. It is to rely on ordinary awareness, but there are some trance phenomena in various religions that demand paranormal explanations. For instance, hypnosis has been used to recover repressed memories of abduction by UFOs, parental, satanic ritual, and sexual abuse from patients who have been lost for 20 years or longer. While obsessive-compulsive, psychotic, and unimaginative people often cannot be hypnotized, those types of people score the lowest on the dissociation experience scale. Hypnosis has a few unusual features, such as a lack of sensitivity to pain or intense rigidity of the body, Many psychologists argue that hypnosis may only trigger people who are prone to dissociation, and whether one can ever separate fact from fantasy during hypnosis. Self-hypnosis. To discipline yourself, meditate. The brain and mind are stimulated by many types of non-subliminal and subliminal messages. Meditation will help to become energized and less stressful, but distracting thoughts can prevent the mind from becoming disciplined. Concentrate on breathing or listening to relaxing music. Balance and calm the mind by changing thought patterns to support true intentions. Tap into unexpressed creativity, relax the body, and get engaged in a trance-like state of meditation. Once you find inner peace, don't let anyone or anything disturb it mentally. Then, control the false feelings, ideas, and thoughts to get in touch with your beliefs and values. You will become receptive to new information. This will allow true discernment of natural data to filter in while going into an induced calm and peaceful suspension, all to enable a doorway to open temporarily into the subconscious area of the mind. Next, focus and then implant new positive and purposeful ideas that will empower you to impact respectively to God, into the subconscious through affirmative and creative visualization. Ultimately, the new ideas will manifest, thus influencing at the subconscious level. After that, you are once again able to accomplish your dreams and goals. We do self-hypnosis unknowingly several times a day while doing our day-to-day activities, so it shouldn't be that difficult to meditate. What are entanglements? A complicated condition, element, thing, or state of well-being. What are standpoints? The position in which a person has decided on a judgment, perspective, or review. Universal unity. The physical and spiritual intellectual domains of universal creation are divinely correlated, and people's imperfections are interrelated. The fundamentals of unity are to capture creative diversity and discover the divine nature of the functions of universal creative energy. However, diversity doesn't mean giving up one's uniqueness, stretching arms further than heart can bear. The universe presents problems and situations that portray disharmony and indicate the absence of effective human coordination. God's administration, architecture, and plans of the universe define a diverse level of creation. Deity enables the effective coordination of the universe's integrated mechanism. The sole purpose of forming unity in the universe is to bring all nations together for reconciliation. 12 Universal Laws Principles. 1. Action. We must engage in actions, dreams, emotions, thoughts, and words for plans to come into manifestation. 2. Attraction. We create circumstances, events, people, objects, and plans according to the energy of our actions, feelings, thoughts, and words. Fact. Negative energy attracts negativity, and positive energy attracts positivity. 3. Cause and effect. Our actions have reactions or consequences, and nothing happens outside the universal laws, not even by chance. 4. Compensation, aka giving and receiving. What is provided for us has a cause and effect that applies to the abundance of blessings. Generally visible, blessings, friendships, gifts, inheritances, and money are given in deeds that have a cause and effect. And you will sow what you reap. 5. Correspondence. Physics laws and principles of the world's energy, light, motion, and vibration correspond to the etheric or universe, as above, so below. 6. Divine uniqueness. The world and everything in it are connected to the universe around us. 7. Gender. The basis of all creation has masculine, yang, and feminine, yin, principles. To be true co-creators and masters with God, the spiritual origin of his masculinity must balance the energies of her femininity. 8. Perpetual transmutation of energy. Generally, everyone can change their energies in life according to the principles of the universal law, since higher vibrations consume and transform lower ones. 9. Polarity. The law of mental vibration states that everyone can suppress and transform undesirable energy by focusing on the opposite energy. Don't focus on the thoughts, just the energy the vibrations bring. 10. Relativity. To strengthen the light within, the law states everyone will be initiated according to a series of challenges that test. While proceeding through the challenges, compare the challenges you face with others, and remain connected within the heart. Most times, you will encounter someone who has it worse than you do. 11. Rhythm. Since everything moves to certain rhythmic vibrations that establish cycles, developments, patterns, and seasons, God's universe reflects regular and irregular cycles, and a master rises above irregular cycles by never getting too excited and not penetrating the consciousness. 12. Vibration. Everything in the universe has its unique vibrational frequency, and the universe moves, travels, and vibrates in circular patterns. The principles of vibration in the physical world also apply to our desires, feelings, thoughts, and willpower in the etheric world. 13 Law of Attraction Techniques. 1. Connect with an object. Find an object to put in your pocket to represent the reality of the manifestation. It can be a coin, a crystal, or a stone, etc. Touch it before, during, or after to reconnect with self-confidence and determination. You can also use the object during normal visualization. Other times to use the object are when finding a career, going to a job interview, meeting the eternal mate, building the home of your dreams, or even when making an investment in your own business. 2. Be grateful. Keep a journal of things you are grateful for and write your challenging, great, difficult goals and experiences you have had, to learn from mistakes, and find peace with happiness. Also, make to-do and wish lists of goals. 3. Dream board. Create a collage with various drawings, photographs, pictures, and words that best describe the reality of the manifestation. Put the collage on a board, or hang it on a wall. 4. Intention point shift. It is the meeting ground between your heart and mind, and when it is activated, you can manifest a higher energy vibration for things to come easier and faster. Intention points are the only techniques you will need to properly use the law of attraction. 5. Let go. If you see something tangible down the road with future fear, it doesn't overwhelm you as much, and you don't mind being pulled in because you have a little more control. However, if you can't see goals from past fears or things can't be worked out, this type of fear is just fearing without goals. Fears without goals, most times you don't want to be pulled into, but running from fear only strengthens fear. Fear must be faced and worked through. Fears from the past can sometimes be worked out, but not all the time. The goal is to form a clear understanding all around so that past fears don't come back to bite. Past fear will hinder moving forward, just let go. 6. Live as though you are transforming into the life you desire. Change your posture, career goal, furniture, or wardrobe, whatever merely gets you closer to living your dreams. Also, unclutter your life, in general, to keep a good attitude about what's to come. 7. Multi-perspective visualization. Imagine doing what you want to manifest, and then alternate the perspectives of visualization to see yourself from the outside. It works best from a third-person perspective. 8. Multi-sensory visualization. Involve more sensors other than sight. Hear the sounds, smell the environment, and touch the objects or person to notice what they feel like underneath your hands. All to engage in full sensory data rather than just an amazing moment. 9. Question your beliefs. Judge negative self-talk from an objective standpoint, find its origin, and then reject or get rid of the experience. It could be the voice of an ignorant, jealous, or selfish person, even if it was during your childhood. 10. Read books and listen to audiobooks to stay focused and motivated on current but significant information. 11. Turn negatives into positives. Using the ability to be positive is essential to using the law of attraction to its full potential. Be slow to anger. Visualize things from a greater perspective, and learn your purpose in life. Say nice but significant things to people, as a supportive person. Show empathy. If they don't adhere, just keep it moving. 12. Use a focus wheel. Write the positive things about yourself on the wheel to shift your focus from negative things while they are happening, things like accomplishments and achievements. Bonus 13. Affirm what you ought to know. Affirmations are the power of spoken words to attract and manifest positive change. Write down your affirmation goals, emotions, expressions, ideas, intentions, plans, and thoughts. Believe and repeat them often. Concentrate on a few affirmations at a time. These are things you should already know about yourself. They reveal your likes and dislikes. The 3rd century BC mathematicians provided a key to the universe, the 6-digit number pi, or 3.142857 equals 22 divided by 7. It is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. The universal laws are considered rules of the game of life, also known as infinity, which aligns with karma. It appears that not enough people are exercising to keep the cycles of life regular, otherwise, climate change wouldn't be an issue today. This is just my opinion. I fully believe if more people were physically active daily, God's universe would have fewer irregular cycles, developments, patterns, and seasons. And then, sure, climate change would change.